My name is Silver Mogart. I've lived in Eugene for uh, almost 17 years, and I am the executive director for the City Club of Eugene. I have done a lot of different civic engagement work in the community. Um, that started because as a student at Lane Community College, I was sitting with my son in the cafeteria, and some white supremacists sat directly in front of us and started having a conversation about what the white race needs. And I was shocked and scared and almost was immediately approached by someone from the student council, ASUO, not ASUO, it's the ASLCC, the Lane Community College student government. And from that point, got involved with student government, got involved with local politics, got involved with local issues. I had been involved in some political uh, engagement before I moved to Eugene. And we moved down here so that we can attend school and try to make something better for ourselves. How does one respond to how are you treated in this state, if not just the city? This is a mainly white Anglo state, so it's kind of difficult to just piece out, what different types of prejudices or racism is has affected me or my family. But um, very early on in my schooling, I started to read about some of the different issues that this city had, and so it's not lost on me that we still have uh, systemic things that are happening to people of color in this community. So, um, what do I do to deal with that situation, with those situations? I've become heavily involved in policy making. It started with a local party, doing party politics stuff. I ran the local first Obama campaign stop for the city, and so when the Obama national team pulled into the state, we already had about 250 people that were signed up that were meeting pretty regularly at the fishbowl. And I was the person who organized that. I was the person who got the Obama campaign sort of uh, rolling here in the city. So got a chance to meet with the soon-to-be president. I was asked to be a part of the national team to move forward and do some more campaigning stuff across the nation, but I was a student at the time and a parent to a young son. So my child, my wife, and we couldn't afford to have me pick up and leave. So I stayed. And since then, I've just sort of become involved with a lot of different policy issues. And I'm currently sitting on the police commission for the city of Eugene. And I sit on 2 health boards doing advocacy for the Latina community, and just try the best that I can to make sure that there's a voice that's at the table for the Latina community and for people that are living in poverty.
Have you seen much change in the last year and or since the administration has shifted?
There are a lot of different things to kind of touch on with this. When Trump was the president, I remember asking this question to several of my friends. Do you think Trump has made there be more racists, or has it allowed for people who were already racist to become more vocal? And by and large, the BIPOC community here always said they've just become more vocal. Now, that has changed because obviously, we have a new administration, but I'm not I'm not seeing the sort of mass change that I wanted to see coming out of the summer protests, coming out of the George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor protests. Even today, we had another young man that was killed in the city where George Floyd was killed. And so um, I do see some of a more laxed attitude from people, but I don't see a lot of policy changes that I wanted to see moving forward. There's still kids that are in cages down at the southern border. There's still a lot of different things that I felt Biden was making a promise for that have not come to fruition. So I look forward to pressing those and trying to make sure that he does make some policy changes that would affect BIPOC people and that would have a good and lasting impact. I look forward to a Green New Deal. I look forward to some more progressive policies that would come from this administration. But the thing that I heard today was that Biden's pretty much a blue MAGA. People are, standing behind him and cheerleading him on, but he's not. He's not doing a lot of the major things that we were hoping for. Get rid of the school, get rid of the tuition. Get rid of um, the the cages down at the southern border. Do some major policy things that are going to help the people that elected you, because this is not a time to play easy, and the environment's going to be a huge impact. This is going to be a huge issue, and I don't see anything moving forward with massive policy changes that are going to make it so that we're not worried about global climate disaster in the next few years.
Do you think that he's distracted by the pandemic right now, or is he just kind of biding his time, no pun intended, until he can start running for the next election? Is he just kind of playing right now?
Um, that's a good question, and I know that the pandemic has been a major issue, and I know that's a major concern, and I think that he's done a great job with that. I'm not going to criticize the actions that he took. In fact, I applaud the things that he's done. He stepped up the timeline. He stepped up the scheduling so people are able to get it as of April 19th. Anybody across the nation that wants to get a vaccine that can get it should be able to get it. I applaud that. Um, but I'm a person who wants to see an end to kids being forced to sleep on concrete floors or pads on concrete floors wrapped in foil blankets. I'm a person who wants to see some major policy changes that are going to impact the environment in a positive way. And I want to make sure that we have a planet to look forward to in the next few decades.
Mhm.
They were originally saying in like 17 years ago, they were saying 2050 we'll start to see a massive change. I knew at the time that that was incorrect.
Mm.
So we need to start making some really major policy changes now. And I understand the question, because when Obama came into his administration, I was hoping for a lot of the same things. I was hoping for some massive um, policy changes. I was even hoping maybe potentially that we would see reparations, but nothing ever happened. And I stopped wanting to be a cheerleader for him and stopped saying, making excuses, because it just didn't seem like he was kind of focusing on the same things that I was focused on. He wasn't the person that I was seeing him to be. And I am grateful that we had a president who was an African American man, a black man, in that position that I never thought I would see. And I am very grateful for seeing Kamala Harris as the second in command. I would love to be able to have in my lifetime a woman be the president of the United States. Um, I just want to see some more progressive policies coming out of any administration that's going to be in control of the future of our, not just our nation, but of our planet and of our people and the people that are affected by their policies.
Well, what do you think can be done on the local levels? Where do you see the most impact coming from? Why?
Yeah. So when people are forced to deal with an administration like Trump, and you wake up with a gut, like just I woke up every single day with a feeling in my gut that there was a absolute nightmare that we were living in, that we were forced to live in for 4 years. And every single day, I would look at the news with dread and hope that there wasn't something major that was going to take place that was going to affect us all and, possibly end us. And I'm grateful that that's not the case anymore. And I understand what your question is leading to. The policy changes are going to be from us, we the people, pushing on the administration to make those policy changes. That's historically been what's happened, what's taken place. We need to push the administration to do the things that we want to see happen. And what has occurred has been people have kind of taken a step back and said, now we're no longer dealing with Trump. We're a little bit okay. We can start to relax. I know what happened today with the shooting of Dante Wright is going to kind of be, for me, at least a gauge on what will take place over the next couple of years. If we do see the massive protests again for the unarmed killing of a young Black man, then I have hope that we will see some major policy changes. If we don't see, again, another outpouring in the streets for the same type of thing happening once again, then I don't have a lot of hope. I don't have a lot of hope that we're going to actually make those pressing changes to make sure that the administration does the things that he needs to do. And so I've taken it upon myself to start to think of a way of formulating and saying that in every interaction that I have, there are kids that are still at the southern border that need to be released. We need to deal with that situation. And part of dealing with that situation is making sure that we don't have kids locked up in cages at the southern border.
So maybe what I'm hearing you say is that just because our administration changed, we can't become complacent and put all our hope that they're going to do something if we don't keep reminding them every day.
No, we need to, I think we need to even press even more.
Yeah.
Because we do have an ear that is more sympathetic to hearing what we want to see. I've sort of seen that the Democrats just want to be elected. They want to maintain that position, but they don't really. I don't see a lot of movement coming from the local party, the national party, on making sure that BIPOC voices are heard more than once a year, and that time is usually around November. And I need to see more of an outreach from local leaders, from elected leaders, asking for what can we do for you. And I always say this whenever I meet with a politician or somebody who's asking for what can we do to help the local party, or what can we do to help the Latinos. And I always say, well, the day after the election, take some sweetbread, some different like little bits of food, get a large place to gather, and have some childcare provided, and meet with the families and meet with the people that are electing you. And don't do it before the election. Do it after the election. The day after the election is even better, because we don't have anything to offer you at that point. And we're not feeling as though you're reaching out to us just to get a vote. And then let's have a dialogue. Let's have a conversation.
What can you do to make sure your voice is heard?
Sitting at a table with a bunch of different policymakers or people that are influencers or elected people, and having a conversation about what type of policies you're going to have or institute moving forward, or even just having a conversation about some of the different things that rule and guide us. That can be intimidating, and that can also be very there's a steep learning curve. Learning parliamentary procedure, learning how to interact, how to find your specific voice at a table. Are you going to be the person who's sort of the thorn in the side, the pushy person, the person who listens, but then will come in with some strong guidance, and those type of things are necessary and required for anybody who's hoping to make change in the community. And that change is always going to be, starting at a local level, starting at the small level, and then moving up. I have no, I will not run for office. I'm not going to run for office, but I do want to make sure that anytime that I'm being asked to speak for a specific community, I'm going to be a person of integrity. I'm going to be a person who says, this is, I don't speak for the whole community, but this is what I want to, this is what I see from the community. This is what I see from the people that I interact with, what they need. And, a lot of those times it's just basic needs, making sure that you have healthcare, making sure that you have a warm place to stay and have food on your table. And, it's anything that a lot of people who are in a place of privilege take advantage of. They don't really consider a lot of those different things. They don't consider that there are people that are living on the streets. There are people that, go to bed hungry because they don't have a meal. And so I want to make sure that I'm always the advocate for those voices.
I mean, you mentioned some committees and stuff that you're on. Can you touch a little bit more about how you do it besides running for office?
One of the things that's most important is to show up. Is when I take on a council, a committee, an advisory board, I show up and I get there to every single meeting. And that's important. And, a lot of these things are open to the public. There are things that are, accessible online. People will put it on Facebook. We have boards that are opening up. We have people that are, we're reaching out to be a voice for this specific community, or to advocate for, different communities. I'm a Chicano. I don't identify as Latino, and I grew up in Los Angeles, and I have my own history and my own way of dealing with, things that are thrown at me. And so whatever experience that I bring to the table, I don't bring to the table as a person who speaks Spanish and who lives in this community and who doesn't, have the sort of access to different, different things. So I always keep that in mind, but I do know that there are people in this community who their primary language is not English, and they don't have access to a number of different things. And I know that because that's the history of my ancestors. Some of my ancestors had that same experience. So, having that understanding, and I will always say that I'm not going to speak for that specific community, because who am I to speak for a community? I don't think anybody who is Anglo is ever asked to speak for the Anglo community. So I will not say that I'm going to speak for this community, but I will say that, these are the needs that we have. So, and, advocating and doing the work, showing up, being a person who's learning, be a person who's willing to step up. Those are the things that make a difference. And after a while, people start to notice that you're there, that you're showing up, that you're doing the work, and that you're being involved. And those type of things are, I hope, the things that people take into account when they're listening to you, and they're taking your, any kind of advice that you might be giving.
Like, how do we get the Latino community to the table? How do we hear what they need?
So there are some people that we call gatekeepers, who make themselves the access point for that community. And they're usually the people that, the people who are in charge, the, elected officials, the government people. They'll reach out to those gatekeepers and they'll say, hey, what can I do to get the Latino vote? What can I do that would sound good on a policy statement so that I can get this, section of the population to vote for me?
Mm-hmm.
And those gatekeepers have no integrity, and they'll say, okay, I'll be the person that you can run to and come out, and I'll give you all the information. And, they maintain that sort of personal power by saying that they'll be the people that speak for that community. And your question is, How do I find out what they need? Making things available in both languages is one thing. Making sure that your website has, both languages. Going out and finding the communities that you wanted to speak to, and not in a tokenizing way. Where are you doing outreach? What areas of the community? Are you broadcasting on some of the Spanish language channels? Are you getting some of the word out on those channels? What connections do you have? Are you making connections to Alex Reyna or La X or some of the different programming options that there are? Those are people that you can find on Facebook really easily, and building a foundational relationship with them, and then asking them what they need, so that you're not just reaching out so you can fill a quota. That's one of the issues that I've seen with this community, is that they like easy answers and they like it to be done quickly. And so they'll step into those power brokers, those gatekeepers, and ask, hey, can you fill this quota for us? And those people lack a lot of integrity, and they'll step in and they'll say, here you go. This is what you want, and this is what I'm going to fill for you. I'll fill that need for you. So it's hard work. It's doing relationship building stuff, but it in the long term, it builds a better bridge, and it builds that foundational work for you to be able to kind of hear what their voices are asking for. So for most of my policy work, all the boards and the committees that I sit on, those all come out of personal relationships that I have had with different people from the community.
Mhm.
In one particular health board that I sit on, a friend of mine, and she's a lesbian woman, and she and I had a very good friendship, and we were very open with one another. And one day she said she was working on this thing with local health community board. And she said, you know what? You would be good on that board. You're a strong advocate for your community, and I'd love to invite you to be on that board. This was a relationship that I had built with a person for 10 years.
Mhm.
And so I didn't feel tokenized when I went on the interview. And in fact, one of my things is humor. I like to use humor in meetings. And in the particular starter pack they gave me for this health committee, it had a Latino family in the front, a man, wife, and a child. And I pulled out the folder, and I said, did everybody get one that was specific to their community? Everybody laughed, and my friend said, yeah, I got a lesbian couple on mine. So it was funny. And humor is a way to kind of relieve some of the stress in a meeting, and sort of kind of break the ice. And also it's a way for people to find a place of center and peace, so that we can have some of the stronger conversations, but we can also have a little levity and laugh. And I think that's important. But I again, back to the point, I never felt tokenized for any of the work that I've done, because I've always had relationships with people that have asked me to be on those committees and those boards.
I would like to invite you to express something that you want to say to the community.
So for all the work that I've done in, regarding advocacy work, and just kind of being a person who speaks, my experience as a Chicano person, and how that might have kind of an advocating voice for the Latina community. I feel as though the greatest thing that I've been able to accomplish has been getting vaccines to populations of people who have been underrepresented. At the end of last month, there was an opening for eligibility to allow for food processing workers, wildland firefighters, farmers, people that are usually largely from the Latina community, were opened up on April 29th. In fact, they opened up a little bit before that, but up until that point, we were underserved and underrepresented in the population of vaccines for the state. 34% of the population that had or currently had COVID were represented by Latinos. Only 5% of the population were vaccinated. So out of the 95% of people that were vaccinated, 5% were Latinos. That was very upsetting to me. And so at LULAC, the organization where I'm the vice president, it's a national organization for Latinos founded in 1929. LULAC was the foundational, did some of the foundational work for the Brown versus Board of Education decision. LULAC founded MALDEF, the Mexican American Legal Defense Fund. LULAC was the organization that started the Head Start schools. And in fact, LULAC was the last national event that John Kennedy went to the night before he was assassinated. So LULAC's been around, and through my connection with the county and the health centers, and because of my position at LULAC as an executive person, we were able to get 96 vaccines into the arms of people who were massively underrepresented up until that point. That's been some of the greatest work that I've been able to be a part of. And so, you know, it's those kind of things that make me feel as though some of the work that I've done does have an impact, because it's real and it's life-saving.
Yes, thank you for all of that. And I'm going to give a plug for the vaccines as well. I hope and encourage everyone that is able and healthy enough to get one, and to talk to your doctor if you don't feel like you're healthy enough, and get the right information that you need.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Yeah. Y'all have a nice evening.
You as well.
Bye-bye.